I always knew the city's skyline would look different the day Avenora arrived. Shadows moved with an unfamiliar grace, like whispers of a story not yet told. The air crackled with static, an omen of change, or perhaps of ruin. I stood there on the edge of the balcony, the neon signs flickering below me like a heartbeat that couldn't decide whether to race or rest. My name is Reggie, and this city is mine. At least it used to be. They said she was designed to end me, that her beauty was a trap and her presence a promise of death. But in those first moments, I saw something different. Her silhouette glowed against the city's artificial dusk, clad in a skin-tight combat suit of burnished silver, eyes that seemed to drink in the chaos around her. Avenora stepped from the dropship, boots hitting the wet pavement with a silent promise of purpose. Each footstep sounded like thunder in my ears. My mind screamed to run, to find the shadows and fade into them. But my feet stayed rooted, held in place by something I couldn't name. I watched her scan the horizon, her movements precise as clockwork. She was breathtaking, an assassin born of nanotechnology and whispers. Her skin kissed by the pale light of the bioluminescent buildings. My pulse hammered. My heart shouldn't have wanted to know more. In the hours before her arrival, every contact I had in the city, every friend, every enemy, had whispered the same words. "Reggie, she's coming for you." She walked towards me, each step measured, the metal glinting at her hips, blades designed to end lives with a single flick. And in her eyes, I saw not rage, but a flicker of curiosity. Maybe it was my foolish hope, or maybe it was real. When she finally stopped in front of me, the world around us seemed to fall away. Neon lights, sirens, the pulse of the city. It all vanished under the weight of her gaze. She didn't draw her blades. She didn't speak. Instead, she reached out, her fingers brushing the edge of my jaw. The contact was electric, a jolt of something I'd never known. Not fear, but the spark of something more dangerous. Avenora tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. Her voice, when it came, was a soft command, an intimate invasion. "You're not what I expected." I swallowed hard. My breath caught in my throat. "Neither are you." She smiled, just barely. It was a promise of danger and possibility, of fate that couldn't be outrun. In that moment, I realized the warnings meant nothing, because whatever they said she would do, Avenora had already done it. She had captured my attention, my heart. The city buzzed around us, but I was trapped in the gravity of her presence, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be saved. Days passed like a fever dream. Avenora stayed close, a ghost in my world that didn't belong yet refused to leave. I couldn't shake the rumors echoing in every dark corner, the whispers that she was programmed, engineered, and destined to kill me. Every glance she threw my way felt like a question, every silence a battlefield. At first I kept my distance. Trust wasn't something a man like me could afford, especially not with a stranger who carried the weight of a silent war on her shoulders. But the more I watched her, the more I saw the cracks beneath the cold steel exterior, the fleeting hesitation before she moved, the way her eyes betrayed a loneliness deeper than the city's shadows. One night, beneath the endless hum of neon and the distant roar of hovercars, I found her standing alone on the rooftop. The city's pulse below us was a steady drum, but up here, the world was silent, fragile. I stepped closer, unsure if I was chasing a ghost or seeking salvation. "Why are you here?" I asked, voice low, barely above the wind. She didn't answer right away. Her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the stars struggled to pierce the artificial glow. "Because I was sent," she said finally, her voice a mixture of steel and sorrow. "But not for the reason you think." I frowned, heart pounding. "Then why?" Avenora turned to face me, and for the first time I saw vulnerability. "I was created to be a weapon, yes, to end lives. But I am more than that." There's a part of me I don't understand, a part that fights against what I was made to do. Her confession hit me harder than any bullet ever could. A weapon doubting its purpose, a killer craving freedom. I reached out, tentative, my hand brushing hers, a touch that was both an anchor and a spark. "Maybe you're not the only one fighting," I said, my voice barely steady. The moment stretched, fragile and electric. She looked at me, eyes searching for something, hope, maybe, or a reason to believe she could be different. In the following days, we moved through the city like two halves of a fractured whole, dangerously close, yet haunted by the impossible future that awaited us. I caught glimpses of the woman beneath the armor, a survivor, a seeker, someone desperate for a chance to rewrite her story. But every moment we shared was shadowed by the inevitability of betrayal. I wasn't sure if it would come from her or from the enemies lurking in the dark, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And still, despite it all, I found myself leaning into the fire she ignited, a fire I never thought I'd feel again. The city never sleeps, but at times, I wished it would, just so I could catch a breath, a moment of peace away from the chaos that now defined my life. Every corner hid secrets, every alley whispered betrayals, and I could no longer tell friend from foe, especially when Avenora was involved. She moved like a shadow with purpose, each step precise and calculated. I watched her, fascinated and terrified all at once. She was a puzzle wrapped in mystery and danger, and every piece I uncovered only led to more questions. Why had she really come for me? What was the truth behind the rumors? One night, the answer began to unfold. The rain was relentless, pounding the city's neon-lit streets in a steady rhythm. We were holed up in my apartment, a cramped, dimly lit space cluttered with memories of a life I thought I controlled. Avenora stood by the window, her silhouette blurred by the rain-streaked glass, the soft hum of the city barely reaching us. I approached cautiously. "You've been distant," I said, my voice breaking the silence. She turned slowly, eyes shimmering with something raw and unguarded. "There are things you don't know, Reggie. Things I can't tell you. Yet." Her words sliced through the air like a blade. I wanted to demand the truth, but I held back. Sometimes silence spoke louder than words. "Why?" I asked, desperate for any fragment of honesty. Her gaze fell. "Because if I tell you, it could mean the end for both of us." I swallowed hard, heart pounding. The weight of her secret was a storm I could feel gathering, ready to crash. That night, sleep eluded me. My mind raced with possibilities and fears. Who was Avenora beyond the assassin's mask? What forces pulled her strings? And how deep did the betrayal run? The next day, fate gave me an answer. A message blinked on my holoscreen, a warning wrapped in digital code. It wasn't from the usual enemies or rival factions. It was from someone close. Someone who knew Avenora's past better than she let on. The message read, "She's not just a weapon, she's a trigger, and if you don't act, the whole city burns." Panic surged through me. I looked at Avenora, who was quietly packing a small bag. Her calm exterior betrayed nothing, but I could see the flicker of conflict in her eyes. "Tell me what's happening," I demanded. She hesitated, then spoke. "I carry a failsafe, a protocol embedded deep within me. If triggered, it unleashes chaos beyond imagination." My heart clenched. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I don't know who to trust," she confessed. "Not even myself." In that moment, I realized the full weight of our situation. We were bound by fate, but also by danger. Trust was a currency neither of us could afford lightly. Determined to fight the looming threat, I reached out, placing my hand firmly on hers. "Whatever it is, we face it together." Her eyes locked onto mine, a spark of hope igniting amidst the darkness. The days that followed were a whirlwind of whispered plans, covert meetings, and narrow escapes. We navigated a labyrinth of lies and hidden enemies, each step closer to the truth, revealing new layers of deception. Through it all, Avenora remained both my fiercest protector and my greatest mystery. She fought with the precision of a trained killer, yet her touch held tenderness I never expected. Our bond deepened, not just through shared danger, but through stolen moments of vulnerability. One evening, beneath a sky streaked with dying light, she pulled me close. Her breath was warm against my skin as she whispered, "You saved me from the darkness I was born into." I searched her eyes, seeing the woman beneath the weapon, the one who dared to hope. "And you," I replied softly, "gave me a reason to fight for a future I never thought possible." Her lips brushed mine then, a kiss charged with promises and defiance. It was a fragile vow against the chaos that threatened to consume us. But just as hope blossomed, shadows closed in. An explosion shattered the calm, sending shockwaves through the city and ripping through the fragile peace we'd built. Fire and smoke choked the streets as sirens wailed, and the weight of betrayal pressed down like a crushing tide. I grabbed Avenora's hand, pulling her into the chaos. "We're not done yet," I said fiercely. Her grip tightened. "Number, this is just the beginning." And in that moment, I understood. Our fight was far from over. The enemy was closer than ever, and the line between love and destruction blurred with every heartbeat. The city was burning, literal flames licking the sky as chaos swallowed the streets whole. The explosion was no accident. It was a message, a warning. The moment I feared the most had arrived. We sprinted through the smoke-choked alleyways, the acrid scent of burning metal and plastic filling my lungs. Avenora's grip on my arm was tight, her eyes scanning every shadow for the enemy lurking unseen. But then, in the midst of the chaos, I saw it. The flicker of a face I never expected. The face I had trusted. The sting of betrayal hit me harder than any bullet. I barely had time to react before the cold barrel of a gun pressed against my back. "Going somewhere, Reggie?" The voice was calm, cruel, familiar. I froze, heart pounding in terror and disbelief. Avenora tensed beside me, her body coiled like a spring ready to strike. "You've been played," the voice whispered. "She's not on your side." My head snapped around to meet the accusing eyes of my closest ally, the one I thought had my back through every storm. But now his loyalty was as fragile as the city's burning skyline. "You set us up," I spat, fury rising despite the shock. "I did what I had to," he said coldly. "Survival means choosing the right side." Avenora's eyes flashed with steel as she stepped forward, a blade materializing in her hand from the hidden tech embedded in her wrist. "You made a mistake," she said, voice low and deadly. The moment exploded into violence. Metal clashed, gunfire echoed, and I found myself caught in the middle, betrayed but not broken. In the chaos, Avenora moved with lethal grace, disarming and disabling with precision. The man who had betrayed us fell, clutching his side, his eyes filled with rage and regret. As the dust settled, I turned to Avenora, breath ragged. Why betray me like this?" She looked away, pain flickering in her gaze. "Because I had no choice. They threatened everything I cared about, the people I barely have left." Her confession cut deeper than any wound. The world we fought for was built on shifting alliances and impossible choices. I reached out, touching her face gently. "We'll face this together. No more secrets." Her lips pressed against mine then, urgent, desperate, a silent promise that we were bound not by duty but by something far stronger. But even as our hearts found solace, I knew the fight was far from over. The true enemy was still out there, waiting to strike, and this time, there would be no second chances. The city's heart was a battlefield, but so was mine. Every step forward felt like walking on shards of glass. Fragile, painful, yet necessary. After the betrayal, the line between ally and enemy had blurred into a dangerous gray, and trust was the rarest currency. Avenora and I moved like ghosts through the neon-lit labyrinth of the city's underbelly. The weight of what had happened lingered between us, a silent question hovering in the air, unspoken but ever present. Could we still believe in each other? Could a killer and a survivor carve out a future together when their pasts were drenched in blood? Her presence was a paradox, lethal yet tender, distant yet profoundly close. I watched the way her eyes darted, alert to every danger, but softened whenever they met mine. It was a battle for survival, yes, but also a battle for something deeper. We found shelter in an abandoned factory, the walls scarred with rust and graffiti. But for a moment, it was our sanctuary. The hum of the city felt miles away, replaced by the faint drip of water echoing through the vast emptiness. Avenora sat on a cracked concrete slab, her fingers tracing the faint scars on her forearm, the marks of a past she never fully revealed. I joined her, my own hands trembling with the weight of uncertainty. "Tell me everything," I said, voice low. "No more secrets?" She hesitated, eyes reflecting the dim light. "There's a program inside me, a failsafe that wasn't meant to be triggered. It's connected to my core, a kill switch that could wipe out entire sectors of this city." My stomach churned, the fate of millions hanging by a thread, and I held that thread in my hands. "Who controls it?" She swallowed hard. "A corporation. They created me to be their ultimate weapon, but they don't see me as a person, only a tool." Anger flared within me. How many lives were controlled by faceless corporations, puppeteering with no regard for the cost? "We need to shut it down." Avenora nodded, but the doubt lingered. "It won't be easy. The security is airtight, and the people behind it, they have eyes everywhere." I looked into her eyes, searching for the woman beneath the weapon. "We'll face it together. I won't let them win." Her lips curled into a faint smile, a fragile beacon of hope in the darkness. As we planned our next move, the tension between us shifted. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming freedom, rewriting the destiny forced upon us. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the silence, the crackle of static from a hidden communicator. Avenora's eyes snapped open, and she reached for her weapon. "They found us," she whispered. "We barely had time to react before the factory doors exploded inward. Figures swarmed the room, armed and relentless. I grabbed Avenora's hand, pulling her into the shadows as bullets tore through the air. Every second was a blur of adrenaline, movement, and desperation. We fought with everything we had, fists, blades, and willpower. The enemies closed in, but we refused to fall. Amidst the chaos, I realized something. No matter what storms we faced, no matter the betrayals or the dangers, we were stronger together. And as we escaped into the rain-soaked streets, drenched and bruised but alive, I knew one thing for certain: our fight was far from over, but so was our love. The rain had turned the city's neon lights into a blur, reflections rippling like fractured memories on the slick pavement beneath our feet. We ran, Avenora and I, through the endless maze of alleys and forgotten tunnels, hearts pounding in sync with the pounding storm above. Every moment was a test of endurance and trust, a high-stakes dance where one misstep could mean death. But the weight pressing hardest on my chest wasn't the gunfire behind us. It was the question lurking between us. Could I truly trust her? Avenora's eyes, usually sharp and guarded, flickered with doubt and something deeper. Regret? Fear? I wanted to ask, to reach into her mind and find the truth. But silence wrapped around us like a shroud, thick and unyielding. We paused beneath the flickering glow of a broken street lamp, rain dripping from our clothes and hair. I pressed my palm to the cold brick wall, steadying myself as my breath came in sharp gasps. "You have to tell me," I said, voice raw. "Who else knows about the fail-safe? Who's really pulling the strings?" She looked away, jaw clenched. "There's someone I trusted once, but they betrayed me. They're the reason this all started." The words hung heavy between us. Betrayal was no stranger to me, but hearing it spoken with such pain cut deeper than I expected. "Who?" I pressed. Her eyes met mine, fierce and vulnerable all at once. "Cyrus." The name struck me like a thunderclap. Cyrus, the shadowy figure who controlled the corporation behind her creation, the architect of the weapon I'd come to care for, a puppet master hiding behind layers of deception. "He's hunting you," I said grimly. "And now, he's hunting me." Avenora nodded, her gaze steady despite the storm raging inside her. "He won't stop until the failsafe is triggered or until I'm dead." I clenched my fists. We were caught in a web of lies and danger far greater than either of us had imagined. "Then we need a plan," I said firmly. "One that doesn't rely on luck." She smiled faintly, a rare, fleeting light in the darkness. "I know a way, but it means facing Cyrus directly." The thought chilled me. Facing him meant stepping into the lion's den, where every move was watched, every breath counted. But there was no turning back. For Avenora, for me, for the fragile hope we'd kindled amid chaos. Together we slipped deeper into the city's underworld, gathering allies from the shadows, hackers, rebels, and those who'd lost everything to Cyrus's greed. Each step forward was a gamble, but the stakes had never been higher. And as we prepared for the inevitable confrontation, I realized the truth I'd been denying. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for our souls and for the chance to rewrite destiny itself. The night was thick with tension as Avenora and I made our way to the heart of the enemy's stronghold, a towering monolith of steel and glass that pierced the skyline like a dagger aimed at the heavens. The air smelled of ozone and danger, and every step echoed with the weight of what was to come. I glanced at Avenora. Her face was a mask of steely determination, but beneath that, I glimpsed the flicker of doubt and fear she tried to hide. We both knew this wasn't just a mission, it was a reckoning. The security systems were ruthless, a symphony of lasers, sensors, and armed guards. But with the help of our allies from the underground, we navigated the labyrinthine corridors, hacking and slipping past defenses with precision born from desperation. Every heartbeat brought us closer to Cyrus, the man who'd turned Avenora into a weapon and now sought to use her to burn everything to ashes. The fail-safe pulse hummed faintly in her mind, a ticking bomb waiting to be set off. We reached the central control room, a cavernous chamber bathed in cold blue light. Cyrus awaited us there, his silhouette framed by towering screens that flickered with data streams and surveillance feeds. "Welcome, Avenora. Reggie," he said smoothly, voice dripping with malice. "I've been expecting you." Avenora's fingers twitched near her concealed blade. "This ends tonight, Cyrus." He laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You think you can stop me? You're nothing but pawns in a game far beyond your understanding." I stepped forward, voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "You made her into a weapon, but she's more than that now, and so am I." Cyrus's eyes narrowed. "Then you leave me no choice." With a flick of his wrist, alarms blared, and security drones filled the room. The final battle was upon us. Avenora moved like lightning, taking down drones with lethal efficiency. I covered her, firing and dodging as the chamber became a war zone. But the real fight was inside her mind, the battle against the fail-safe protocol that threatened to obliterate us all. Sweat dripped down her brow as she fought to keep control, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. I reached out, gripping her hand tightly. "Don't let him win," I urged. Her eyes met mine, filled with fierce resolve. "I won't." Together, we breached Cyrus's control console. Avenora's fingers danced over the interface, overriding security protocols, disabling the failsafe. With a final surge, the systems powered down, and the threat dissolved. Cyrus stumbled back, defeated but unbroken. "This isn't over," he hissed. I looked at Avenora, battered but unbroken, a warrior who had reclaimed her destiny. We had won the battle, but the war for our future was just beginning. And as the dawn broke over the city, washing the streets in golden light, I knew one thing. With Avenora by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. The first rays of dawn stretched across the city like golden fingers, brushing away the darkness that had clung stubbornly through the long, harrowing night. From the rooftop where Avenora and I stood, the cityscape stretched endlessly, an intricate mosaic of gleaming towers, winding streets, and the faint remnants of smoke that still curled faintly above the skyline. The battle was over, but the war within us, within the city itself, was just beginning. The silence between us was heavy, yet filled with unspoken relief. For so long, danger and doubt had been our constant companions. But now, in the quiet glow of the morning, something fragile and precious blossomed between us. Hope. The kind of hope that only emerges after surviving a storm you never thought you'd see the end of. Avenora's hand found mine, fingers curling gently around mine, grounding me in this new reality. Her touch was warm and steady, a reminder that despite everything, we had each other. The woman who had once been forged to kill was now the source of my strength, the reason I dared to imagine a future beyond mere survival. We gazed out over the awakening city. Lights blinked on in windows, the hum of life beginning anew. Children's laughter echoed faintly from distant parks. Vendors set up their stalls on bustling streets. The world was moving forward, indifferent to the scars it carried, and to the battles we had fought in its shadows. I swallowed hard, emotions swelling inside me like a tide ready to break. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" I asked quietly, afraid to shatter the fragile peace. She turned to me, her eyes reflecting the dawn's soft light. "Every day," she admitted, "but I've learned that the future isn't something you wait for. It's something you create." Her words settled deep in my soul. We weren't prisoners of our pasts or pawns in someone else's game. We were authors of our own story, and this was our blank page. The memories of betrayal and pain still lingered, ghosts that haunted every step we took. But they no longer held power over us. Instead, they became the foundation on which we would build something new, something unbreakable. I tightened my grip on her hand, a silent vow passing between us. "Then let's write it together." Avenora smiled, a radiant, genuine smile that lit up her face and chased away the shadows of doubt. Together. We stayed on that rooftop long after the sun had fully risen, watching as the city came alive around us. The world was vast and unpredictable, filled with dangers we could not yet see. But with Avenora by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. As we descended back into the streets, the weight of our journey pressed on me, not as a burden, but as a reminder of how far we had come. Each step forward was a testament to resilience and love, to the power of two souls united against all odds. The people we passed didn't know our story. They saw only strangers moving through the city's pulse. But beneath the surface, our hearts beat in tandem, carrying the promise of something extraordinary. That night, in the quiet safety of a small hidden sanctuary, Avenora finally let her guard down completely. She spoke of dreams she'd buried deep beneath layers of programming and fear, the dreams of freedom, of peace, of a life unchained from the weapons she'd been born into. I listened, captivated by the woman she was becoming. No longer just a survivor, but a beacon of hope. We shared stories of loss and hope, of battles fought both inside and out. Our laughter mingled with tears, healing wounds that no weapon ever could. And when the moment came, she looked into my eyes and whispered, "Thank you, for saving me, for seeing me." I shook my head, overwhelmed. "No, Avenora. You saved me. You gave me a reason to believe again." Our lips met in a kiss that was soft and fierce all at once, a promise sealed in the quiet darkness. It was a beginning, not an end. As days turned into weeks, we built a life out of fragments, each moment a brick in the foundation of something lasting. We fought for the city's future, for the people who didn't know they needed us. Together, we dismantled the shadows that threatened to consume us. But even as peace settled, the world remained unpredictable. Danger lurked in the corners, and the scars of the past sometimes threatened to reopen. Yet in every challenge, we found strength in each other. Avenora was no longer just a weapon. She was a partner, a lover, and a warrior reborn. And I was no longer a lone survivor. I was a man with a future, with hope, and with her. Under the endless sky, surrounded by a city that never truly sleeps, we stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Because sometimes the greatest victories aren't won on battlefields, but in the quiet moments where love conquers fear. And as the new dawn bathed us in its golden light, I knew this was just the beginning of our story. One we would write together,